you have to stop the plot first. So if you go back, you can keep the motor running.
Okay.
You just have to stop the plot. So now you can edit
Okay.
and add different variables.
Okay.
Yes?
This show again how to add the area parameter in the scope.
Yeah.
Sure, of course. So
SNS,
in the
right?
scope, you click the edit button,
Okay.
this, and then it needs to be in this list of available variables.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm gonna get rid of, so these two buttons transfer variables from here to here. So if I want to get rid of this startup reference current, I click the delete,
Okay.
and now it's gone. So then let's say I want to pick this. You select it, click add, it shows up. So just these two buttons handle transferring these between these two. But if it's not in this list, then you have to go to the watch window
Okay.
and add the variable,
Okay.
and then describe it.
New values.
Yeah.
My game is crashed. What should I do next?
Which step did it crash on?
Yeah.
But below the project.
Oh, so let's just re-identify your motor. So we can do it through here. So the rated speed is for that one is 3,000.
So I need to.
And then the current, I believe, is 3.5. Yeah, you can look it up. That's 3. And you can click this motor measurement. Yeah, so if you, in the code, if you go to the, so it's a little more difficult to navigate in KDS than it is in IAR, admittedly, but it's in the start, so, yeah, let me show you back, go back over here real quick. So all of these these top level blocks all have their own header files. So you just need to find startup.h,
Okay.
and it'll describe, you can find the output structure, which will have this data reference current described in it. So I'd look for startup.h, and it should be, so you're in the startup library, it won't be in the SDK. Yeah, it'll not be in the SDK.
Should be created by KMS.
Right, it's in the KMS reference project, so it'll be in here. Yeah, exactly.
When I was running this under torque control, this motor,
Yeah.
it started getting quite warm, and the rated speed, the speed of it started reducing. Don't know why.
Yeah, it's probably, as it, when it runs in torque control, it may not be running super efficiently. And so, because you just have extra current that you don't need.
Oh, okay.
And so you're just burning that up at heat. and then you're increasing the resistance, and so now the estimator isn't as estimating as precise as it could anymore.
Okay.
So it kind of just cascades through everything.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So you should be able to, it says idle, so you should be able to go and do the motor inertia, system inertia measurement. Click the stop. Let's try it. Click stop. Yeah. Let's try it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
那个 error 会在里面 OK 吗？对。
这样跟那个，
所以 error 说他1:30跟1:40，看你哪个是 error。
没关系，我再跟他打电话。
这样是要抠吗？
还是你还在做？
线就在。
因为所以你中午会跟同事换是不是？像 Mark 这个 Mark。
Something's going on with our computer. Especially if it crashed like that, it'll take a ton of problems.
那可能需要便当吗？
他们立刻他们会的。
There it's going now.
你们来不及就叫其他东西出来比赛。
然后我们是12:50要会找你对不对？
I need to try start and stop.
1:50。
我们3点了，我们约
No,
3
just
点。
let's let it keep going.
哦，我以为是12:50。
At this point, it's working.
那你是？ So they're finished successfully. So now we need to do the inertia.
It's okay now?
Yep, because it says idle and this button is back to play, so it's good now. It's finished. So now you need to do the inertia measurement. So in the inertia, if you scroll down, so inertia measurement. Okay. So now you're ready to go to speed control.
Okay.
So yeah, now you have everything set up. Yeah.
相对于那个电池，因为它是波形，但每个时间点不一样。就是你看看这个相对关系。对。对对。而且我现在做的是它在动它。
So everything we've talked about and shown you today on the GUI is also covered in the KMS lab guide. So my recommendation would be that after today, go through the lab guide on your own. Because it's designed to be self-guided for customers to kind of, so we can give them, so when they buy the kit, they can use this lab guide to step through and go through this exact same process, and it'll teach them how to use KMS. So that'd be my recommendation, is to help kind of keep refreshing yourselves and kind of go back. I would recommend going back through that as well. It'll be a good reference for how to do things.
Yeah, right.
So the other thing I wanted to go through is let's go through motion sequence builder. So this motion sequences tab is where, so it'll can start the washing machine sequence that we saw in the wizard, but it'll also let us launch motion sequence builder, so we can start making a new one. So let's imagine I'm a ceiling fan customer. So I'm gonna build up a ceiling fan plan applicant motion sequence. So I click launch, it opens in its own window. And then the first thing it wants you to do is define the states. So it wants you to define the different speeds that your ceiling fan is going to go. So in this case, I'm going to have 3 speeds. So if I click add, it says add a new, I'm going to add 2 new states. So I can give them names. So I'll say, call this one low speed, and this one high speed, or medium speed, and high speed. So you can give them names. Then you can also specify the speeds. So these are going to be dependent on your motor that you're using. So for example, my motor, I want to set this to 1500. I want to set this to 2500. And I want to set this to, let's say, 4000. So if your motor's rated speed is not 4000, if it's less than 4000, I would set that less than 4. I would set it to whatever your motor's rated speed is. So I know like the compressor motor, that's rated for 3000, so I wouldn't exceed 3000 because of the mechanics attached to it. Okay. So in Motion Sequence Builder, there's this button down here that says connects the states together in the simplest manner. So if I click this button, it's going to warn me that it's now going to create transitions between these states, and it will erase any transitions you may have already had. And since I just started, I can click yes because that's fine. I didn't have any transitions to erase. So now it shows you this diagram. So this is your state machine right now. So it's going to start at initial state, then it's going to go to the low speed, it's going to go to the medium speed, it's going to go to the high speed, and then go back to the initial state. But if you think about a ceiling fan in your house, that's not really how it works, right? It expects you to press the button to actually go to the next speed. So we need to add a button and that kind of conditional transition into our state machine. So if you click variables, we can now add a new variable. Let's call this button. So this button is now our input into the state machine to tell it, make a transition. But we need to describe how we want it to do that. So we can actually go into each individual state and you get a lot more detail about them. So the state is made up of the speed you want it to run, the minimum time to spend in the state, and then this if-then relationship table. So right now it's saying if no condition, so if true, go to low speed with this acceleration and jerk settings. But that's not what I want it to do. I want it to go to low speed if button is equal to 1. So I need to add a new if statement. So if I click this button right here, it adds a new if statement. So I can say, I want one variable to be considered. I want it to be button. I want it button equal 1. So now I have another if I can choose from. So up here, if you select the drop down, you can select if button equals 1, go to low speed. So now if you go to the next state down, this is a global. So this exists for every state. This can exist in every state. So you can just kind of go and pick all of them that way. So once you have that done, if you click this kind of drawing icon with the different squares and the connections, it'll show you that the updated version of that picture. So the icon, this icon, it's the squares with the different lines between it.
But it has no save button. How to save it?
So you save, oops, click the folder,
Okay.
save blank.
Okay.
So you can call this ceiling fan, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
But so now if we look at the diagram, it says if initial state, if button is equal to 1, go to low speed. But right now, if my button is equal to 1, it'll just go to low, go to medium, go to high, and then back, which is not what we want, right? We want it to be one shot. So you have to press the button every time it goes to the next state. So that means we need to add a then. So this way we want to update the value for button. So you click the add button next to then, and you say which variable's value to be changed. I want to change button, and I want to set it equal to 0 upon exiting the state. So every time I leave a state, I want to set button back to 0. So I then need to add a new line into this table. This table describes what should happen in this state. So I want to say if true, then button 0 on exiting. So now every time it exits the state, it'll set button back to 0. So I can do that for all of my states here. So of course, it's always good practice to save whenever you kind of make a change. So if I look at my diagram again, this is what my diagram looks like. Yeah, so this way it'll go from initial state to state low speed when button is equal to 1, but then it'll set the button back to 0. So that way I won't keep going. It'll go to one state, stop, one state, stop, one state, stop. So you can also open, right, for your save. Click the same folder and select open. Has everybody been able to get to this point so far? Let's look at your diagram. Oh, entering. That should be, might be okay. Yeah, let's click at your diagram. I think it would work because the logic is if button is 1, go to low speed. When you enter the state, the button will still be set to 0. So it should be fine. I think so. We'll try. If it's not, we'll fix. Yeah, no problem.
Do I need to save?
It's always good to save. So if you click, there's a little button. If you click the icon to save it, call it whatever you want, of course. Name it anything. So you look at okay. Yeah, we'll need to save it trace log for this. So don't restart it yet. So inside of my documents, so we've got this KMS folder right here. So this is all the working folder for KMS. So right now, it has the traces of this trace file. This is the current trace file. As soon as it fills this trace file, it moves it into archive. But this is the one it's working with. So this is the one we'll want to save this somewhere. Yeah, if you copy it, and then I'll get a flash drive and get pasted on. You don't have to save it in the archive. KMS, this is where KMS automatically saves. But I won't. So if you save it to here, this way it's easy to find. So now you can kill now you can close KMS. Since I haven't had a problem. Yeah, no problem. So I wanted to get the copy of that one since I had a problem like that.
Sorry, I didn't follow this current
Sorry.
name machine. now I'm adding the other conditions.
So you don't need the on exit, so click button equals 1 and edit it.
Sorry.
So click on button equals 1,
Okay.
unselect on exit. There you go. Now click the edit button.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. So this is, you're right so far. What the difference is that you need a, over here, you need a then statement.
Okay. Okay. If button equals 0. then-
Well, it's not an if, it's a then. So it's a, so you need, so you don't need a, so you need a then.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Then is sum, right?
But that's some, but we just want to set the value,
Okay.
right?
So it equals.
还是要做
Mhm.
那个 SE
equals no 0.
0, yeah.
我现在开起来，然后
你那个挂掉了。
So now you need to add a new row into here.
对，
There you go.
Where's the button one?
Well, it depends on how you want it
Oh,
to
okay.
happen,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So
Depends
this,
on the behavior.
This is, yeah, this is your if.
Okay.
So I think I want it to be, we want it to be if true, which is if no condition.
Okay, so if in from the initial state, if I press the button and
Mhm.
button if the condition is true,
Mhm.
so it starts to go to the low speed.
Yep.
And it's the next step. Okay.
But so you want this, but you don't want that to be but. So add a line to this table. Okay. Now we need to select it. We want to leave this. That's fine.
Yeah.
No condition. Nope. Set that back to no condition.
No condition.
Then select a new then. So what happens is that we need the button to get set back to 0
Okay. Okay.
somehow.
Okay.
So this is what this does, is now, if true, set button to 0 when you enter the state.
Okay.
That'll only happen once, because you only
Okay.
enter the state once and you only exit the state once.
So it means it will back to the initial state, right?
No.
No. But what will be the state? What will be the motor?
It'll
What status?
be, so it'll, when you're in this initial state, the motor speed will be 0.
Oh, okay, okay. It will stop.
So we want to set button, we don't want button to be, if you set button to 1,
Mhm.
unless you have something to tell it to go back to 0,
Yeah.
it will always be 1.
Okay. Okay.
And you don't want that, because it'll just go through all your states and stop.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So you need this other then to set button to 0.
Oh, okay. So this one is set button to 0.
Yeah.
Okay. Then equals we if user they want to stop the motor. Okay. They can press the button and if we press again, and you will stop the motor.
So it depends on so click your little, click the drawing so you can see what that looks like. Okay, so right now it says initial state. Go to low speed if button equals 1.
Yeah.
On entering this state, set button to 0. So right now, if you set button to 1, it'll go to low, go to medium, go to high.
Okay,
go
I
back.
understand. Okay.
So you need this action to force button back to 0
I have to add it.
to these other
Yeah.
states. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So that way it
Okay.
goes and stops, goes and
Okay.
stops, goes and
Okay.
stops.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Thanks.
Yep. No problem.
这个是要自己设计。
一样的。
And this state machine that we built is the one from the lab guide. I built it a lot, so I'm just it's easy for me to talk through and do it. But it's described, this same process is described in the lab guide too. So the other thing I wanted to show is that if you click this icon, it'll actually show you the source code that it generated. So you can look at the .c and .h file that it generates. This is everything it generated for me.
If you want to store that into the project, this
Click.
icon to the right.
Yep, save auto-generated code. Saved in the reference project.
Okay.
And so now that we've generated this source code, we need to recompile the reference project and put it on and push it on the target. So that way it'll run, we want it to actually run the motor. That's what this bullseye, this icon does. So I click this icon. It's going out and it's calling my IAR copy, or in whatever IDE you've chosen, it'll go call it, and it's actually doing a build.
So do we have to create a empty project?
Nope.
No, okay.
It's automatic. It's created the empty project. It created the project and everything for you.
Okay.
So it's just going and doing a build of the project.
Okay.
So it says building was successful. So you click OK, and now it's downloading it to the MCU
Oh.
automatically. So you do have to watch the output of these windows, because if you get a build error, for example, then you need to go in. You'll need to go solve it. It can't. Unfortunately, it can't solve build errors automatically.
Okay. But customer also can modify based on the source code, right?
So this source code.
Yeah. If the source code has generated by the state machine, but if they want to modify by the C code.
You can't in this window.
Yeah.
Right. But if you this is a C file in their project. So if we go look at my copy of IAR, this is the file is motionsequence.c. So this is the file that it updated. So you can go in and modify this,
Yeah.
all you want, because it's open source code.
Okay. But if the source code has been modified, it will also change the state machine.
No.
No.
It will
Okay,
not be
then
reflected back at, if they go and change the source code, the tool does not reparse the source code to regenerate the state machine.
Okay.
It's a one-way down, it doesn't go back.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So okay, so mine, it's finished. So now if you've gotten to the point where you've recompiled and re-downloaded the project, you need to add your button into the watch window so you can actually modify it. And that's comes up under user plan variables. So now I have button, which is what I named it.
Were you able to compile and download it?
Everybody there so far? Looks like yours is still going. Click it twice?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't click it twice. I would click it once.
Because I click it once, there's nothing happens.
Okay, gotcha. Sometimes it takes a little bit because it needs to disconnect from the MCU, so it can go to compile and then re-download and it's doing some stuff in the background. Oh, it's okay. It's rebuilding. Right now, it's doing your SDK builds. So it'll actually, if you don't have the SDK libraries built, it'll go out to the SDK and build the library for you. Yeah, so that's what it's doing. Not kind of right now, not at this stage, but customers will need to go into that eventually, because when they need to add their code in.
So KNS will call the functions, the KDS or SDK to build up the instruction or compile this object.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Everybody so far? Program. Good. So when
我刚才按两下，
我还要知道我要到什么目录去啊？
它这边告诉我，你要找 KDS 的，再抓那个，就是在
So if you click, so once you have the state machine built, you click the compile and download button, and kind of the arrow into the target.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll auto. So that the second from the right, yeah, that one. It'll actually go and compile the reference project, and then download it to the download it. So only click it once because it's running a script to do that.
Okay.
So because you clicked it twice, it had a problem. So click OK and then try it again and just click it once. Yeah. Workspace is used by what process? Looks like it's going now. Okay, success. Yep, so now everything's working. 'Cause you're getting 2 greens, heartbeat. So I think yours is building the SDK libraries right now. Because if the SDK libraries aren't built, it'll go build them for you.
Oh.
It needs them to build the reference
No.
project.
Do I need close?
You can leave it open in the background, it's fine. It's just, click, see what other KMS windows are open right now. So everything is disabled. Yeah, loading, click loading to MCU, click OK. So that would, since you clicked it twice, it spawned a bunch of copies of the windows, and so now it's going to load again. That's okay. How many write cycles, Philip, how many write cycles are these flash memories?
100,000.
Okay, so we just burned 2, we're okay.
Yeah, you're not gonna worry about it.
Yeah. So now yours is loading the MCU.
Sorry, it didn't respond after I.
So with the freedom, you actually have to you have to manually, so which didn't respond? I guess let's start there.
So do I click it again?
Yeah, click, click yeah, just one, so it's.
Okay, so it's starting. Okay.
Now the freedom, it's actually going to ask you to reset the MCU manually.
Okay.
And that's because the freedom board is a little different from the tower board.
Okay.
So watch. That's why you have to watch like the output line, the last line when it's done. Okay, so yours is now. Yours is actually going and building the SDK right now. So that's what it's going. It's going to go build the SDK, build the startup and those libraries, and then build the reference project.
Okay.
So once you've gotten to this point, you can add the add button in to the watch window, and it's just an integer. It's a decimal. It's just we're going to write 1 and 0 to it. So it's just a flag. So you can leave all these default. Hit OK, and then just like on the plot, the watch window won't update unless you click the play button. So you click play. It's now starting to update. You come over here and start the motion sequence. It should say plan busy. Right, my motor's not moving. Right, and so if I set button equal to 1, right, motor starts moving.
Okay.
It goes back to 0. Button equal to 1. Oops, I got a fault, some kind. Peak overcurrent.
You might have left one of your parameters when you're doing that tuning event stuff.
It's possible. So button is changing. Button changes my speed.
So the value will be reset to the 0 automatically.
Because then we told our state machine to do that.
Okay.
And so it went back down to 0. And when it goes to 0, plan is going to exit. It says plan idle, plan stopped. So I want to start it again. I press play. So of course you can also open the oscilloscope and look at the speed feedback while you're doing this too. It's waiting for trigger. Since I changed. No trigger. Right, you can see my oscilloscope's increasing. Went up again. just like a ceiling fan. So you hit so you have to manually reselect set communication.
Yeah, I pressed but no response.
What is it? So read the message. So click it again
Okay.
and read, and let's see what the message says.
No message.
So click it. I don't think it actually clicked. Okay. Object file does not exist.
Is
So
that it?
if you modify the source code, the build may have failed. Please readdress build errors and recompile.
I bet it's that KDS problem I was running into.
Possible. Yeah. Is that the one you named it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now let's click the build.
他刚刚是有说他有提供 API 是 for PC user，他 PC 可以我们 API 是给我们电脑用的，电脑控制它用的 API。
API 会在这里面，然后这边的话，
Well,
可以把你这个
okay.
刚这
So
些
click
储
OK.
存的参抓到这些参数可以
So
储存
it
起
says
来。
does not exist. So you have a build. So you're having a build error somewhere.
这 PC 端
Somewhere.
应该一端好像
那
没有
是提供 API。
So it does not exist. So it didn't actually build it. So the build failed.
Okay. So how about so we have to debug it, right?
Why the build failed?
Yeah. But how can I know where is the bug
click-
is?
So you at this point you need to click OK,
这里才是个历史。
right?
这里来
Try and do the
试一下
build again.
Do again?
Yep. So now we'll need to look at this output,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Because this will tell us this is the output. This is the console output of the build.
Okay.
It'll tell us what the
Or we
problem
can
is.
work over lunch.
Okay.
And,
But just
however you like to do
three
it.
stages. Three
You want a
stages.
break?
My point,
That's
right?
fine.
So
Okay.
Okay.
And,
So we need to look at-
the schedule of afternoon.
so we need to look at what happened
What is
here.
the schedule?
Well, I think we have to
Yeah,
leave
you
by
use
2
any
to
file
get to the
that
customer.
So you can
So we
click
need
the
to pack it up around
save the output as a text file.
Okay.
1:30.
No, sorry, because Maggie, who is a sales for Delta Home Appliance,
So then you can look at
she told
that output
me,
and figure out what happened.
you should
Okay.
roll up before wrap up before one point
13:30.
1
Yeah.
150.
Okay.
50.
So we need to wrap up when?
We need to be walking out the door around 10 till
10 till 2?
2. So we got go into
Oh, I'm gonna go through slides.
yeah.
That's
That's it.
what we need to do. That will familiarize everybody with everything else. We kind of talk through everything else. We have the lab guides, got the basics of how everything kind of works. So at this point, I mean, and beyond anything beyond what we've already talked about in terms of GUI operation, it's gonna have to be self-learned through the working through the examples in the lab guide. And then Philip and I, of course, are can help out if you're on challenges or problems. That's what we're here for. And going forward. So if everyone wants to try it and start playing with it next week and run some challenges, we're here to help solve those. But I think the next thing is to kind of talk through a little bit more technically what it is, so that way in front of customers you can talk more knowledgeably about underneath of KMS. Does that make sense? Sound good?
So
Okay.
lunch is here. We can have a break,
Let's do like a
like 20, 30 minutes.
yeah.
And so you can grab the lunch. You want to move to another conference room to eat, or
Yeah, we can use another room to eat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's do like 20, 30 minutes, like quick lunch, and come back here.
yeah.
Okay. It's here.